Greater Brisbane is tonight once again in lockdown after 4 new cases of COVID-19 community transmission. All of them have the highly infectious UK strain. It's emerged that one of the new cases travelled to Gladstone, while 2 others went to Byron Bay while unknowingly infectious. Ipswich, Logan, Redlands, Moreton and Brisbane Council areas are locked down at 5 o'clock for 3 days. If you've been in these areas since March 20, you need to follow lockdown rules. Only leaving your home for groceries, if you're an essential worker, for healthcare or for exercise. Schools will shut from tomorrow. Restaurants and cafes are only available for takeaway. Masks are now mandatory. People in Greater Brisbane can only have 2 visitors. The rest of Queensland is limited to 30. There are now 7 people infected in the latest cluster, and Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk admits she's worried. Kate McKenna begins our coverage.
A city plunged into lockdown once more.
We're shocked, and was feeling sorry for some of part-time people that work in here.
Authorities swift to act as Brisbane's latest COVID cluster doubled overnight.
I didn't sleep last night, so I think I am very worried.
Masks are back and schools shut, except to vulnerable students or the children of essential workers, to stop any further spread.
A little bit sad because we planned a lot of things in coming days.
It's okay. It just adds a little bit of extra lockdown or a little bit of extra school holidays for us.
And despite the Premier's pleas,
Please do not go and panic buy.
within hours queues were forming from Ashgrove to Maruka.
They were lined up halfway through the shop or more, and people frustrated, people anxious.
Long lines also snaked outside testing clinics as people heeded the call.
We now have significant community transmission and significant numbers of venues of concern.
A mammoth contact tracing operation is underway.
This is the UK strain. It is highly infectious. We need to do this now to avoid a longer lockdown.
With the number of community transmission cases having grown to 7. 2 of today's infections are colleagues of a previous case diagnosed on Saturday. But the link to the other 2 new cases, a nurse and her sister, is not yet clear.
We will need to wait for genome sequencing results that we should get back late tonight or tomorrow morning.
Regional areas are on alert after one of the new cases was in Gladstone for 3 days while unknowingly infectious.
I hope we have our Easter, but what will be will be.
We're working very closely there to identify venues that person was at.
The nurse and her sister visited Byron Bay.
I was also quite concerned about the news. We're looking forward to a good holiday and hope it doesn't get ruined.
Authorities say the nurse, who has worked in the COVID ward of the Princess Alexandra Hospital, had not yet been vaccinated due to being on leave.
This is going to be part of the Australian way of life until everyone is vaccinated.
The lockdown restrictions will be reviewed on Wednesday night. Kate McKenna, ABC News.
The timing of this latest lockdown is leaving businesses, particularly tourism operators, on edge. There's only days until Easter, and while the lockdown is due to end on Thursday evening, there are no guarantees. It will all depend on whether more cases are detected. Emily Gramens reports.
The resilience of business is being tested once again. This Yum Cha restaurant in Chermside and Sunnybank is going to close completely for the lockdown. Serving takeaway isn't worth it.
They're closing down 5 o'clock, so we're still open in the morning. But the morning they just see not many people.
Operators of a Thai restaurant in Albany Creek are hoping to minimise the impact.
Takeaway or delivery would be better because I think safer is better than sorry.
One day after the end of JobKeeper, 4 days before Easter, news of a growing cluster in Brisbane couldn't have come at a worse time for far north Queensland.
Easter was looking really strong and the phone's been ringing hot since the announcement this morning, all with cancellations.
We hope that we can get this done quickly, the tracking and tracing can be put in place, and by Wednesday night we're hearing positive news from the Premier about Queenslanders and the rest of Australians being able to travel again.
Gold Coast holidays are still going ahead.
We cancelled twice, so we said this time we'll definitely go.
But plans to visit Brisbane have been scrapped.
Not a bad place to get stuck there, hey?
For those travelling the other way, Western Australia is closing its border to all Queensland arrivals from midnight. Victoria, South Australia, Tasmania and the ACT are all restricting travel from Greater Brisbane. The Northern Territory will usher Brisbane visitors into mandatory quarantine. And New South Wales will enforce the lockdown for anyone who travelled from Brisbane since March 20. It's just over a year since lockdowns became a reality in Australia. This is the third time around for businesses in Greater Brisbane. They're much more practiced now, but every time is a blow to the bottom line. Authorities will review the lockdown on Wednesday night.
If Queensland Health's got their tracking and tracing in order and the community does, their due diligence and isolates where they need to, we could salvage something.
In the meantime, fingers are crossed. Emily Gromens, ABC News.
For more, we're joined by reporter Rachel Rieger. Rachel, Greater Brisbane's in lockdown. What are you seeing out on the streets right now?
Well, Matt, the streets are largely going quiet as people make their way home from work, and I have seen a lot of people wearing masks, so everyone is definitely complying with those lockdown measures. But we do have some little pockets of activity like the one behind me at shopping centres. We have seen all day people rushing to the shops to do groceries, and that has continued here tonight as people do get those essential items like food and medicine. And we're also seeing quite a few people coming for takeaway food as well, so there are still a number of food stalls still open to people, but definitely everyone is preparing for the next 3 days.
And Rachel, major contact tracing effort is underway. Where are these locations people need to be most conscious of?
Matt, well, they span from Byron Bay in northern New South Wales to Brisbane, Redcliffe and then Gladstone in central Queensland. So among the most high risk are in Gladstone, it's the Auckland House and the Spinnaker Park Cafe. There's quite a few stops as well along the Redcliffe train line and some shops at Redcliffe. And we've also seen the Byron Beach Hotel and the farm at Byron Bay as well. And just within the last hour, we've also had some more locations added. We've seen Woolworths at Castledine, quite a few locations in Castledine, Aldi in Bald Hills, Sombreros at Aspley, and 2 locations in Brisbane City, including the Winter Garden car park. But the full list of locations, times and dates are on the Queensland Health website, so we encourage everyone to go on and check that for the exact timings.
Yes, important information. Thank you, Rachel. Rachel Rieger there at Wollongabba.